Hey there, and welcome to Lesson 5, Learning Styles. These next few lessons are going to be spent doing some investigative work on your child, yourself, and your family to prepare us to make a homeschool plan that will fit you. We don't want to be making a plan that you have to try to squeeze into. We want you to try it on and say if it's just right. You may have already read up on the different types of learning styles and how to figure out which one your child leans towards, or maybe this is brand new information for you. Either way, I recommend completing this lesson before moving on because there are a few things that I want to make sure you understand about learning styles that you may not already know. Number one, learning styles can be extremely helpful as you choose curriculum for your child. Factoring in our unique styles and ways that our brains process information is a considerate way to teach anyone. Number two, learning styles are not always clear, narrowed to one, or completely consistent. This is not something to stress about, and probably not something that you will be able to answer immediately. These are things to keep in mind as you teach your child. You will learn more and more about them and how they learn as time goes on. But if you are completely unsure which style they favor right now, just focus on the fact that it's an amazing blessing that they have a teacher who has the time to pay attention to details like that and even try to cater their education accordingly. Most classroom teachers would never have the time or freedom to do that. How much you are able to figure out about your child's learning style is also going to depend on their age. You will probably be able to find out much more about a 6th grader than you will a kindergartner. So be patient in the process, as well as their preferences and personality differences are uncovered more as they grow. Also, think about what kind of learner you may be if you don't already know. If your child shares some of your traits, you may be able to tap into the best way to teach them by thinking about some of the ways that you enjoy absorbing information. So the first of 4 learning styles is the visual learner. They are gathering information most comfortably through their eyes. There are some general statements about visual learners, but please don't take this as gospel truth. I have a visual learner that shows zero interest in maps, graphs, or charts. These are meant to be things to consider and possible signs to look out for. My child, who learns visually, does enjoy having something to look at when learning something new. He likes to see a concept demonstrated or even written up on the board or drawn in a picture. Visual learners will sometimes enjoy doodling, making lists, or taking notes. I have another child who enjoys some visual aspects, and she will make lists happily all day. She really takes joy in seeing things in front of her on a page. Auditory learners are going to want to use their ears to learn. They want to hear you explain a new concept, and they may even want to repeat that information back to you so that you can hear, or so that they can hear it again from their own mouths. On your part, articulation and saying things slowly enough for them to process will be beneficial. Giving them plenty of time to repeat back that information, even if they get it wrong the first couple times, may require some patience and planning, but it will make them more comfortable with new ideas. You might notice them nodding along as you're speaking, or asking lots of questions to help them understand. When they're reading from a book, they may want to read it aloud to themselves naturally. Or you might find that they are repeating simple things back to you that you say to them throughout the day. The reading-writing learner is pretty self-explanatory. They learn best through reading and writing. Text in general is just easier for them to understand rather than trying to listen or watch a lesson. They often do well on written assignments because that is their comfort zone. They might be book lovers or enjoy writing in a journal or a planner. They may even be requesting to have the dictionary close by or always wanting to hop on Google to research a question that they have and read the answer. The kinesthetic learner is going to want to use all of their senses, especially their hands, to learn about the world around them. This type of learner can often be easier to spot. They crave those hands-on experiences, so they are often a mess. Things are also going to stick in their brains more easily if they can practice them or even recreate them. Maybe acting out a scene from a book or doing some sort of science experiment to go with your lesson is going to help them grasp that concept. So you'll see them really diving headfirst into many things quite literally and physically using all of their senses. They may have a hard time sitting still, and they may require a few more breaks throughout the day. So you have pages in your planner to help you track this. I've put multiple copies in there if you have multiple children to track. Again, this is not a scientific formula, so I suggest using a pencil or something erasable to fill these pages out, and then check back throughout the year and years to come to see how things may change. But here are some examples of a couple of my kids, and as you can see, it is not cut and dry. But it helps me have an idea of what may be helpful to them in their schooling. And I do refer back to this as I consider curriculum and how I am going to present pieces of brand new information to each of them. Will is definitely an active listener and does a lot of nodding and repeating back what I say. He also likes to keep a journal of his activities, and he often likes to look things up when he learns something new. He also needs frequent breaks throughout our day and often returns more refreshed after that break. So according to this chart, he's leaning more towards an auditory and reading-writing learner. He's both. Annie does a lot of doodling, and she is my list maker that I referred to before. She also loves to read and journal, but she really loves to use all of her senses in her experiences. So she favors visual and reading writing, but I'm also going to remember how much she loves to dive into things physically, even though it may not be her primary way she learns from what I can see right now. Laurie and Emmy are younger, so I'm expecting things to be a little less clear at this point, and definitely anticipate needing to tweak these charts as they grow. But for now, Laurie is a very active listener. She often reads out loud to herself, and she really benefits from a break. So I'm going to say she's primarily an auditory learner. She wants to listen as I explain new things to her, often multiple times and very slowly. Emmy doodles, makes lists, loves to read, but she really loves to use her senses when she learns, and she struggles to sit still for any period of time. So because of that, we take a lot of breaks, and I'm going to say she's mainly a kinesthetic learner. You may be thinking, this is all great, but even if I do figure this learning style stuff out, then what do I do with it? Well, we will refer back to these charts in your planner and any notes you may write down as the year goes on, and especially as we choose your curriculum. But let's talk about some of the things that you can keep in mind as you go through your lessons this year and begin teaching your child. A visual learner may want you to draw or write things on the whiteboard, maybe hang some diagrams and cute charts on the wall, or get some manipulatives to demonstrate concepts in subjects like math or spelling. An auditory learner may want lessons to be more of a discussion style as opposed to just reading a lesson in a book, so that they can listen to your explanations and repeat them back to you. They may prefer listening to audiobooks from time to time rather than reading, and will probably learn well through songs and rhythms. A reading-writing learner will probably need the time and space to write things down. to read a new lesson at their own pace, to absorb new information, and it would probably help them to have easy access to things like encyclopedias and dictionaries, and even some safe and supervised time to research online. A kinesthetic learner may retain by acting things out, like scenes from a book, hands-on experiments and projects, and even learning letters and sounds by creating them from blocks or manipulatives or Play-Doh. So use your pages in your planner, as well as the note pages in the back, to jot down whatever you can. You are now a detective looking for clues to solve the mystery of your child's learning style, and just have fun with it. Ask them questions as you go through lessons. Notice the times that they seem the most engaged and the times when they don't. Give them choices when you can, like saying, would you rather read this lesson by yourself, out loud to me, or have me read it to you? Don't feel like one of those ways is cheating or not the real way we learn. There is no one way of learning. As much as conventional schooling tries to make us believe that, we all learn differently. And if listening to a lesson being read is more enjoyable and beneficial than reading it themselves, then that is the best way for them. And this is one of the reasons that avoiding comparisons to other families, children, and homeschooling routines is so important, because your kids are your kids. They get to learn from this amazing person named mom or dad who care enough to learn about them and their unique minds and how best to serve that uniqueness. Tailoring and customizing things is a gift, not an easy way out. So that's it for lesson 5. I'll see you over in the next lesson when you're ready.